Well, hi, welcome to our followers and members, and welcome to Secretary of State Frank LaRose.
Hey, Stephanie.
Thanks as always to everyone for joining us at Ohio Right to Life. As you all know, Ohio's March 17th primary election was upended last month with last-minute orders to keep polling locations closed on what would have been Election Day. We know that the governor and Director Acton, and of course our Secretary of State, needed to adapt in response to the coronavirus pandemic, which is changing every day. So absentee voting in person and also by mail has been in practice in Ohio for over a decade now. But if, like me, you had planned on voting on Election Day and then weren't able to, we wanted to be sure that you knew you still had the opportunity to vote. So to explain how, we invited our great Secretary of State, Frank LaRose, to come talk with us today. So Secretary, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us and help us get the word out to pro-life Ohioans about voting. I hope you and your family are doing well, of course.
Absolutely, thank you. And it's great to be working with Ohio Right to Life again. I care so much about your mission, and so proud to have a 100% pro-life voting record from my time as a state senator, but obviously as the person who runs elections in Ohio and is responsible for business filings, I don't get to interact quite as often as I used to with the terrific team at Ohio Right to Life. And so thank you for the chance to make sure that Ohio's pro-life voters are able to make their voice heard. And so let me break it down. Yeah. You're right to mention that Ohio's in-person election was suspended due to the health order related to the COVID-19 pandemic. And what is in its place now is a period of vote by mail. So we're concluding the primary as a vote by mail election. And so every Ohioan, if they haven't voted already, needs to request their absentee ballot. If you have already voted, you are good to go. Your ballot is safe and sound at your county board of elections. It's behind double lock and key, meaning the Republicans have one key and the Democrats have another key. And those ballots will be counted on April 28th if you've already voted. If you haven't voted, now is the time, as soon as you're done watching this video, to make sure, or listening to this audio, to make sure that you request your absentee ballot. Here's how you do it. Print, call, or make. I'll explain that and break that down. If you're blessed enough to have a printer in your home or have a neighbor or friend nearby who's willing to print it for you, you can print your absentee ballot request form at voteohio.gov. You click on the button there, you fill in the fields that you need to fill in, you print it, you sign it, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and mail it to your county board of elections. It'll only take you a few minutes to do. If you don't have access to a printer, there is still two different ways that you can request your ballot. You can call 877-SOS-OHIO. That is our hotline here at the Secretary of State's office, and it's staffed by great folks that are going to take your information, and then we'll mail you that absentee ballot request form. You'll get it a few days later in the mail. If you don't want to print it, and if you don't want to call 877-SOS-OHIO, you can actually make your own. You just take a blank piece of paper and you go to voteohio.gov/make-your-own, where there are instructions for all the different things you need to write on there, like your name, last four of your social or your state driver's license number. You need to write your mailing address and your which party's primary you want to vote in, and then you need to sign it. All of those instructions are at voteohio.gov/make-your-own. So again, you can print it at voteohio.gov, you can call 877-SOS-OHIO, or you can make your own absentee ballot request form at voteohio.gov/make-your-own. Now here's what happens next, Stephanie. As soon as you send that in, your Board of Elections is going to receive it. There is a very dedicated, hardworking team at your county board of elections. Both Republicans and Democrats work together to run elections. As soon as they get it, they're going to cut it open. They're going to put in your information. They're going to make sure that you're a registered voter, that your signature matches, that your Social Security last four or your state driver's license number or other authorized ID matches. If it all matches up, they're going to mail you a ballot with a postage paid envelope. And here's what's really cool. A lot of Ohioans don't realize this. You can track your ballot just like you would track a package that you order. So you go to voteohio.gov, you'll be able to see when it's going to hit your mailbox, and so you can watch for it. And then once you fill it out and mail it back in, you can know that it's been received by your Board of Elections. And here's the good thing is, I hope that Ohioans realize through this process really how easy vote by mail is, and maybe it starts a good habit for the future. One of the great things about vote by mail is that you get to kind of cheat on the test, right? When you go into the voting booth, on a normal election, you have to know already who you're voting for. You may get your slate card from Ohio Right to Life, for example, telling you who the pro-life candidates are. Well, you know, when you go into your polling location, if you don't have it memorized and if you don't have a slate card in your hand, you may end up guessing. I think maybe we've all done that a time or two. When you get further down on the ballot, you don't recognize the names. Well, when you vote from home, you don't have to guess. You can take 15, 20 minutes. You can sit there at your kitchen table. You can pull out your phone or your laptop and you can search these candidates. You can look at their social media. You can look at their websites, see what they stand for. Or you can call a friend and say, hey, I've got a choice between these two judge candidates. Who are you voting for? And there's time to do that when you vote by mail. And then one last thing, and I hope everybody takes advantage of this. You can actually print off your I voted sticker. There's even a version for kids at voteohio.gov/I voted. There's a coloring. I had my girls color one in. They printed them out and they colored it in. It says future voter, and they've got them taped up on their bedroom walls. And so we're trying to make this fun, and we're trying to make it so that everybody can have their voice heard.
That's awesome. I didn't know you could still get your sticker voting by mail. So that is great news.
Yeah, some counties mail them out to you, and I'm encouraging them to do that, but it's a little extra work, and they're already pretty burdened right now to cut the rolls out and then put them in the envelopes. But if your county doesn't mail you an I voted sticker, then don't despair. You can print your own, and there's a little one that you can post on your social media page too, so that, you know, on your Twitter or Facebook or Instagram feed, and so that people know that you voted.
That's great. Okay, I think my only other question is, if people have any problems or any questions about this process, how do they get answers? Where do they call, or where do they go?
Yeah, so first thing is there's a great frequently asked questions page that we've been updating as new questions come up, and it's at voteohio.gov. There's a little button that says frequently asked questions. If there's one that we haven't thought of, if you come up with one of those questions that we haven't already thought of, then there's a form there where you can just fill it out. Our team responds to those right away. I've also been answering a lot of questions on social media. I'm just at Frank LaRose on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. And if you ask me a question, we'll respond right away. Either myself or a member of our staff will respond to your question. And then there's also a phone number you can call, that 877-SOS-OHIO, 877-SOS-OHIO. That's a toll-free call. And by the way, we do have multilingual support on those calls. So for people, if English is not your first language or whatever, but you're a U.S. citizen and you're voting, then we can help you out in the language that you're most comfortable in, because this stuff gets complicated. And if you know, so we want to make sure that people understand all there is to know about how to do this process. And so you can also call your county board of elections. One thing to note, for certain groups of Ohioans, there is going to be a limited opportunity for in-person voting on Tuesday, April 28th. It's only for those who are disabled. So for example, the blind, there is a way for blind people to be able to vote remotely by mail. But if you don't have the setup for that, you're going to be able to vote in person at your board of elections if you are an ADA disabled Ohioan. But also for those who are not able to receive mail at a home address, which is effectively the homeless community. We want to make sure every voice is heard. Our democracy thrives when every voice is heard, regardless of status and wealth and everything else. And so we want to make sure every voice is heard. And that's why those provisions have been put in place. But for all the rest of us, it's a vote by mail election. Again, this is to protect our fellow Ohioans, to protect the lives of our fellow Ohioans during this COVID-19 pandemic, but also to protect our poll workers, these very hardworking people at every county board of elections. Stephanie, one last thing: if you have a little bit of free time because you're at home and you maybe want to work on helping us promote Ohio's election, there's a social media toolkit also at voteohio.gov. We put graphics. There's a cool little animation that explains this whole process in just a minute. You can share those on social media to help your fellow Ohioans understand how they can cast their ballot. Again, voteohio.gov, you'll find it says help us spread the word social media toolkit right there.
That's great. Secretary LaRose, thank you so much. It sounds like you guys have really thought of everything that you can to make sure people know what to do and where to go. So I think my takeaways are that I need to request my absentee ballot application, right? I need to fill it out, mail it back. I got to get my ballot mailed into you guys by April 27th. Is that correct?
got to be postmarked by the 27th. If you're a procrastinator and you wake up on the morning of the 28th and it's still sitting there, don't despair. There are secure drop boxes at every county board of elections. It's easiest to just put it in the mail because it's already a postage paid envelope. So we really want everybody to mail them by postmarked by April 27th. But if you still have it on the 28th, you can drive to your county board of elections, put it in that secure drop box there, and make sure your voice is heard. We tried to think of all sorts of different scenarios to make it easy for people. But the key thing is request your absentee ballot right away because it takes time for the mail to process and everything else. So please request that absentee ballot right away.
Okay, great. I think we've got our instructions. So if you're watching this, don't forget, go request your absentee ballot application if you have not done so immediately. If you need a hard copy for some reason, there are all the options the secretary just laid out, but we have some also at Ohio Right to Life, and we're happy to send those to you in the mail as well. So just let us know. Just respond on this video or send us an email or something like that. And Secretary, thank you so much for your time. I know you guys are busy. You and your team are hard at work. So thanks for everything that you're doing on behalf of Ohioans and getting the word out there so that we all can exercise our right to vote in this primary.
You know, so much has changed in the last couple of weeks, but what never changes is that your voice matters. Your vote will be counted. And the important mission of your organization doesn't change, even though, you know, we're working from home and that kind of thing. And so thank you for all that you do, along with Jessica and Mike and the whole team and your great volunteers and the chapters all around the state. You guys are awesome. And let's all make sure that our vote is counted and our voice is heard.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Secretary.
Thanks,
Have a great
Stephanie.
day.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks. Bye.